Now you might ask, Manu, why do you have a bunch of clubs that aren't right for you? Sometimes I'm bored at work, or I see something on sale, or I need some late night retail therapy, or I'm at the PGA Superstore and it makes no sense to leave without buying something. As golfers, we spend a lot of time on what's in the bag, but in my experience, what's not in the bag is often more important and has a bigger impact on our scores. So today we're going to talk about 3 things that if they're in your bag could possibly hurt your scores, and what you can do about them, besides the obvious. Hi, I'm Manu. Great to have you here. If you watch my What's in the Bag video, you probably noticed that there are a few things I'm a big fan of. What you may not have noticed is that there's nothing in my bag that I'm not a fan of. And that's a big deal, right? My bag is my constant companion on the course. It's something I'm continuously taking cues from. Like, for example, you know when you get a new driver, and even when you're not hitting the driver, but you just see it in your bag, you're like, that's my new driver. And it makes you feel dope. That's really important. That continuous cue changes your mindset and keeps you playing well. So as far as what's not in my bag, it's not only clubs that aren't right for me, but a bunch of other accessories and stuff that don't help my mental game. So what's not in my bag fits into 3 categories. A, clubs that aren't right for me. B, clubs I can't predict. And C, accessories that don't add to my mental game. The goal of these 3 is to reduce uncertainty, because there's so much uncertainty already in golf, right? Like the lie, the wind, the conditions, but also things like how you're playing today, how'd you hit this club the last time you hit it, are you comfortable hitting this kind of a hook around this tree, whether you're winning or losing, what you had to drink, the turn. There's a lot of stuff that creates uncertainty, and so my goal with what's not in my bag is to reduce this uncertainty as much as possible. First, clubs that aren't right for me. Now you might ask, Manu, why do you have a bunch of clubs that aren't right for you? Let me tell you why. Sometimes I'm bored at work, or I see something on sale, or I need some late night retail therapy, or I'm at the PGA Superstore and it makes no sense to leave without buying something. This is a fairly simple category, but the way I think about this is if I'm gonna have to make a bunch of adjustments before I can hit that club, it's probably not right for me. Because trying to remember those 12 steps that I gotta go through before I can hit my new 3-wood, that's just gonna create a bunch of extra uncertainty, and what if I forget one of those steps? Now I gotta recover, probably make double bogey. It's not worth it for me. Unfortunately, this is something that's hitting pretty close to home right now. So when I made the What's in the Bag video, I talked about how I got a new driver, and it's brilliant. I put it on my exotic shaft. And while putting that together, I realized that in the last 2 rounds I played, which were both in a tournament, I hit a grand total of 5 fairways with this. 5 fairways. Originally, I thought it was a lack of practice problem. We've had a lot of rain here recently. I haven't been able to practice very much. New driver, no practice. Yeah, of course you're gonna suck. Basically a perfect storm. And then I was thinking, man, I don't suck that much. So I actually got this head and weighed it. And it turns out that while I was quoted a weight of 201 grams, which is the exact same weight as my previous driver head, this one came in at 191 grams, which is 5 swing weights off. Yep, 5. That's a lot. And you might be wondering, Manu, how did you not figure this out? And that's my question too. Now, fortunately, Callaway was great when I called and told them about this, and they sent me a replacement driver head. But if it doesn't arrive in time for my next tournament, which is this Sunday, and it's looking kind of fine right now, I won't be putting this driver in the bag. As painful as that is, driver's really important to me. Only hitting 2 fairways around is really, really, really painful. So clubs that aren't right for me, this is one of them, and it won't be going in the bag. So the second category is clubs I can't predict. I remember watching this clip where Tiger got asked, what's your favorite club? I don't have the clip, so let me reenact his answer for you. Tiger, what's your favorite club? I don't have a favorite club. They're all my favorite club. I love every club in this bag. If I don't love it, it doesn't go in the bag. It's hard to argue with the GOAT. Personally, I break down clubs I can't predict into 2 categories. New clubs, so I don't know how far they go. Driver's an exception here. And clubs that I'm struggling with. For example, when I got my 3-iron a few months ago, I didn't know how far this thing was gonna go. And so it stayed outside my bag for probably a month until I had a fairly good idea of the exact distance that I'd be able to hit with this. Plus minus 10 yards. Now, I'm not saying that I don't bring new clubs to the course. I totally do. I get super excited about new clubs all the time, and so I want to hit them. I just don't bring new clubs to important rounds. So if it's a tournament or if it's a round where I really need to play well, I'm not bringing in clubs that I can't predict because they're probably going to be more trouble than they're worth, and I don't need that extra uncertainty when I'm lining up a shot. It's kind of like swing changes. If it's an important round, like a tournament or something, I'm not going to bring in a new swing change until I'm 100% sure that that is going to work. The other type of clubs I can't predict are clubs that I might be struggling with, and they just create a bunch of extra uncertainty. So say, for example, I'm struggling with my 8-iron. When I'm standing over this club and I'm about to hit a shot with it, the things that are going through my head are things like, I need to hit the ball that far, and then there's going to be something that goes,
well, last time you didn't hit this very well. Is that really the distance? Do you want to maybe play a little bit safer because you're not sure if you're going to hit this right?
I don't need those extra thoughts. You don't need those extra thoughts. This is a whole bunch of extra uncertainty, and so I'd be much better off just hitting an easy 7-iron or trying to even lean on a 9-iron, which is not a great idea. But I'd probably be better off doing either of those versus a club that I'm just not comfortable with. Another example of this is we probably all have a friend who has a club that they're terrified of, but they carry it anyway. I have a buddy like that. He told me about this a few days ago. Man, I never hit my 3-wood. I'm terrified of that thing. But this one day, I had this par 3 that was like 200 yards. And so I pulled out this 3-wood and I hit this like beautiful shot. Isn't that hilarious? I mean, the best case scenario is you don't hit that club today, which means you just carry it around all day for no reason. It also messes with your head every time you look at it, because now here's something that you can't hit. It scares you a little bit. My personal preference would be, and it happens anytime there's a club I'm struggling with, is I'll take it to the range until we become friends again. And I'm very comfortable with hitting this club and it becomes one of my favorite clubs. I know Tiger doesn't have favorites, but I try to go back and make some clubs my favorite, especially when I'm struggling with them. And as soon as I get to that spot, then I can put it back in the bag. So third category of what's not in my bag is accessories that don't add to my positive mindset. I think this one's really important, and I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen it talked about in a lot of other places. We do hear a lot about positive cues, so pros have lucky coins or socks or undies, even thongs. And us regular golfers, I haven't inspected anybody's underwear, but we definitely use things like customized golf balls, right? Some of them are inspirational or hilarious or just downright genius. And we use these to create positive emotions. No one really talks about avoiding negative cues when it comes to our equipment. So for me, on my bag, there's nothing there that triggers a negative memory or emotion. And this applies to all my accessories. Head covers, towels, bag tags, golf balls, different monograms on them, the works. If it's on or in my bag, I have a positive association with it. For example, I used to have a bag tag from a trip I took to a really fancy course, but I didn't really enjoy that trip very much. So while I felt really good from an ego perspective every time I looked at this bag tag about, ooh, I'm fancy, I played this fancy course, I didn't really have good memories of that trip, and so there were a bunch of negative associations that came up. So before I was going to hit a shot, if I was thinking about these negative memories, it would increase the uncertainty, stress levels, etc., probably get my mind to wander. It wasn't valuable at all. Now, this isn't always doable, right? Sometimes we have things that we just can't get rid of because we have a minorly negative mental association with them. So in that case, the key is to switch that emotional association to being a positive one. So for example, my putter cover. So I love this putter. It's a great putter. Putter cover, I could have been happier with this when I first got this. I'm not a huge fan of spiders. I don't like the logos all over the thing, and not necessarily my thing. I tried looking for a new one. It was virtually impossible to find one. By the way, if someone knows where to get small putter covers, please let me know. And so what I did was, realizing that I'd be keeping this, I changed my association with it, which meant two things. One, I sewed in a couple of magnets here to do stuff with it, like just hang it off my irons. So when I go putting, I can just leave it hanging on the thing and it hangs out without me having to like put the Velcro back on. It makes me feel cool. It's got a little, made some customizations to it. I feel cool. The second thing is I changed my association to spiders, which is, I should probably thank this putter for helping me do that. So instead of thinking about spiders as the creepy creatures you might remember from Arachnophobia or Harry Potter or something, I decided to think about them more like Homer Simpson.
Spider pig, does whatever a spider pig does.
And that's something that makes me laugh every time, so it's a positive association. I also now look at this more of as a spider bro versus a spider head cover I don't like. So while yeah, I'd love to customize this at some point, maybe get one with like an Upbeat golfer logo or something, it's no longer something that has a negative trigger in my bag. So the key for things you can't get rid of is to think about a different angle with which you could look at this thing and figure out that positive association. Maybe it's spider pig, maybe it's something else. That's the three categories. If this was helpful for you and you ended up removing something from your bag, I'd love to know. Please drop me a comment. Let me know what it was you took out and maybe what the results were too. And check out this video if you haven't yet. A bunch of people have been using it to shoot well below their handicaps pretty much immediately. So maybe give it a go. That's all for today. Hope you keep it real upbeat and see you next time. Ha 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 ha.